had one nightmare growing up, repeatedly, that I would lose my vision. But I never thought my vision would really ever be in peril until it was. In 2013, I had been neglecting all the notices I had gotten from my ophthalmologist. I don't know if I qualify still for contacts, but I definitely need new glasses. I called the ophthalmologist and set an appointment. And when I went to the appointment, I was then told that my ophthalmologist had left the practice. So I had to break in a new doctor. And he announced that, "Mr. Odell, your eyes look fine. I'd like to see you in a year or two." But on the way out the door, I remember he was out of my view in the hall, still holding onto the door jamb. And then he backed up. I saw his shoulder. He turned and his head was down, as were his eyes. And he slowly walked into the room and he said, "What I told you isn't correct. Everything isn't all right. There's a shadow on the back of your eye."
Jack has been afflicted by something called uveal melanoma. Though it is rare, it is the second most common form of melanoma in the body. But because it is not as prominent as skin melanoma, it receives very little funding.
I didn't fear surgeries or years of chemotherapy or being on pills and supplements. I was just worried about my vision. Our transition to UW took many years. At the time, Seattle didn't have a level 1 ophthalmologist for ocular melanoma. And so we spent 3 years flying between San Francisco with Dr. D'Amato and 3 years flying to MD Anderson in Houston to see Dr. Patel. It's never been an easy day. In about 2016, we heard there's a new doctor in town in Seattle. And it felt great to finally move eye care, oncology, back to Seattle.
Jack is a really unique individual, and he has been really a fighter from the first day I met him.
In 2022, I had just gone off chemotherapy after 9.5 years. COVID was waning, and John suggested we take a vacation to Tahiti. We were snorkeling, but I felt pressure in my head, and all of a sudden I felt an explosion. And the next morning the doctor said, "Your sclera has torn and we can see inside your eye, but we can't touch you due to liability." But in the meantime, John had called and contacted Dr. Stacy, who agreed to see me at 7 a.m. the next morning.
And when we looked in his eye, unfortunately, his eye had undergone some sort of dramatic change. There appeared to be an opening in the eye, in the area where the melanoma was. And that opening appeared to be infected. For many, many years, he had preserved his vision. Jack is a very artistic individual. He really relies on his eyesight. It was something very important to him. But I began to see that there was not going to be a future for this eye, and that the risks were mounting to his eye socket and to his body, and that if there was not really a potential for vision in the future, that we would have to do something a little more dramatic.
So he took one look and said, "It's time the eye has to come out."
And I was drenched in sweat at the end, and it was honestly the hardest surgery I've ever done. Somehow Jack's eye started to heal, and somehow the tissue that we put in the area started to heal. And over time, he actually had a relatively normal eye socket, enough that we could place a prosthetic eye.
And I love my new eye. No headaches, no whiteouts.
Jack takes the bull by the horns. he was diagnosed with this tough diagnosis. He underwent a tough treatment, and he was given a tough prognosis. But rather than back down, he put all of his energy and effort into the disease, to the point where he started to spend all of his spare time on advocacy and creating patient awareness groups that were not previously available in the country. Creating awareness groups that endure today and are supporting, I would say, thousands of patients who receive this diagnosis now.
It's probably the most important thing we can do as patients, as humans, is to fund medical research. America is a leader in the world with medical research, and we're blessed to have UW Medicine, specifically the Eye Institute here in Seattle.